On the first show of 2026, we head to Silver Lake Regional High School for a guest artist workshop for seniors, hear original poetry from Sarah Jane Ferreira, get a short Just the Facts update on Plymouth government, and invite you to the opening of Winter Stillness, an evening of art, music, and community here at the gallery at the local scene.
And if you're looking to learn or just have some fun, we'll also be talking about classes, programs, and upcoming things to do in Plymouth, Pembroke, Kingston, and Duxbury.
We are glad you're here. Let's get started. Kingston Silver Lake Regional High School art instructor Hannah Close invited artist Madeline Saggiomo to senior AP art class for a guest artist workshop. We stopped by to check it out.
In Massachusetts, the Massachusetts Cultural Council funds the local cultural councils, which are run by volunteers. The volunteers read through any grant applications for the year, and they decide who is going to be recipients of the awards or the grant monies. We have received grants for the last 8 years, bringing in guest artists who do pastels and figure drawing and printmaking and all different kinds of things.
So excited to be here. This is my first high school demonstration. I work in watercolor, acrylics, oil, pen and ink. Style's a little bit more on the realistic side. My background is that I went to Boston University. I majored in painting, and then I worked in the corporate world for a while, and then during the pandemic I noticed I wasn't quite as happy, and I thought, if not now, when? Go back to art full time.
Bringing in guest artists is a great opportunity for students to learn about art careers. They see not only that you can make a living as an artist, but also it helps them connect to other different art fields. Advertising, design work all relate to arts as a study and as a field.
So I'm using acrylics to make sure that we use a still life lesson to learn value, composition, and light and dark.
One of my favorite things about having a guest artist come into the school is that they often naturally reiterate things that I've been saying all along, and so students are hearing it from a professional, and then sort of justifies that I'm saying these things for a reason. I'm not making this up. It sort of like backs me up and reiterates, what we've learned.
I'm hoping students take away from the workshop how to compose and execute a more realistic still life and use the composition, value, light and color in most of their works after.
I am really hoping students will hear some of the things that I've been saying and see it from a professional, and that they will also understand that there are professional artists out there and that they could, in theory, learn from them and maybe even just appreciate them a little bit more.
It's important to work with high school students, especially those who are pursuing the arts, because practice makes perfect, especially as a working artist. I'm always making sure that I'm learning, growing, making sure I'm getting the fundamentals really helps in my work and the end result. I would have wanted someone to say to me when I first started out, keep practicing, keep going. It's not going to be perfect your first try at all, and you're going to learn to see your voice.
A great program, and you can learn more about Madeline by visiting her website at madelinesaggiamo-fineart.com.
How about some food for thought? On Thursday, January 15th, the Pembroke Community Center is hosting Ultimate Trivia Night, a fundraiser benefiting the Pembroke Food Pantry to help local families who are facing food insecurity. The event will start at 7 p.m. and is $25 per person. Trivia teams should be in groups of 4 or more. This is the 21+ event, as there will be a cash bar selling beer and wine. Delicious light bites will be served, generously provided by town. Reserve your spot by emailing info@thepembrokefoundation@gmail.com or by calling 781-285-5854.
When gazing upward on a starry night, how often have you wondered, are we alone? Visit the Blake Planetarium on Wednesday, January 21st, when they will be exploring this big question. Strange Worlds and Starry Skies is a program exploring evidence of other inhabitable worlds and the scientific conditions that make life possible beyond our own blue planet. Also included in this evening's lineup is Seasonal Stargazing, a brief but lively guide to the current night sky. The show runs for 1 hour. Parking is free. Tickets are sold only online. Visit the Blake Planetarium page on the Plymouth Public Schools website to get yours. Do you have questions? Science Curriculum Coordinator Allison Reardon will be happy to answer them. Email her at areardon@plymouth.k12.ma.us.
In 2004, Massachusetts became the first U.S. state to legalize gay marriage. The Gay Marriage Thing is a 2005 documentary chronicling the debate and events leading to this historical moment, told primarily through the lens of a lesbian couple experiencing it in real time. On Thursday, January 15th, the Duxbury Senior Center will be screening the film and hosting the director Stephanie Higgins for a virtual discussion about the movie and its relevance today. This 2-hour event will start at 3 p.m. with a showing of The Gay Marriage Thing, followed by the virtual discussion with the director. Please register to attend through the Senior Center's website.
The external pressures of work and life and the internal pressures of living a life can create stress that feels heavy, overwhelming, and causes a disconnect between body and mind. Take a step toward restoring your peace with Pembroke Senior Services Reiki Meditation Group Sessions. Happening at 6 p.m. on January 12th, February 9th, and the 23rd at the Senior Center, these guided sessions are designed to help release negative energy and open your pathway to a place of mind-body harmony. The cost is just $5 per person, and advanced registration is necessary.
The town of Kingston will be celebrating its 300th birthday all year long, kicking it off with a black tie soiree at the Jones River Trading Company on Saturday, January 31st from 6 to 10 p.m. The town of Kingston 300th Anniversary Gala is a chance to put on the Ritz and a scrumptious dinner, a clink of champagne glasses, and an evening of dancing. The guest speaker, Kingston historian Janice Guidaboni, will engage the room on Kingston's storied past, and there will be opportunities to try your luck at a silent auction and a 50-50 raffle throughout the night. The cost is $75 per person, and you can get your tickets by calling Paula Berry at 781-249-5725 or by registering online at kingstonma.myrec.com.
Next up is Dave Antoine with Plymouth Government on the local scene.
In their final meeting of 2025, the Plymouth Advisory and Finance Committee gathered once again on December 17th at the Great Hall to look at a tidy agenda, approving the minutes from their October meetings, a recap of the fall town meeting, committee updates, and more. This led to Alan Costello introducing himself as chair of the Legislative Oversight Committee, marking his second appearance this year as that chair after the Committee of Precinct Chairs met in November. With a decade of work under its belt, Alan provided a brief overview of the committee's history and the exhaustive process in looking at the open town meeting article inventory that dated back years. Joining Alan was Kristen Ford, a town administrative assistant cited as being the key driver of the committee's work. Alan said that the hope for this committee was to find the intent of crafting a system to track past articles and keeping an eye on the articles as they made their way through the town after passage. According to Alan, the road ahead for them was not easy at times, but at the end, it gave them a framework to serve as a reference for town meeting members and residents to use at future town meetings. To Alan's surprise, such a framework brought up over 200 open articles through work compiled by Kristen as she worked with various town departments. Of those 200, Alan noted that an interesting category cropped up. 36 of those articles could technically drop off once completed as a task. Harkening back to the hope that this framework could be used as a tool, the possibility is that a town meeting member could look into a past article as a way of informing them at a future meeting, given the potential similarities to be found. With a living document in front of them that will be continuously updated, Alan cited that will improve accountability and transparency within the community. Proud of the Legislative Oversight Committee's work, Alan brought it home to Advisory and Finance, given they would see it from a financial standpoint. The committee then moved on to the October 2025 town meeting, of which the committee didn't have any input, save for Chair Joe Lally, striking an optimistic tone, believing that most of the committee's financial recommendations were carried through. Miles Ramey provided a small update with the Audit Subcommittee, with Finance Director Lynn Barrett receiving a draft report for 2024 for review, requesting the documents that will be needed for the new audit company. The subcommittee will reconnect with Lynn in January for the latest work from the audit company and their December work. Brian Dunn provided a remote update of the school budget, with plans to look over the budget, citing concern for next year's budget and where that money will come from. Capital Committee Liaison Gail Butler had nothing new to report, save for a planned January meeting. Everett Malaguti discussed the Climate Action Net Zero Committee update, discussing the receival of a grant for a Water Street project and one related to solar and electric vehicle access. Everett discussed that the committee voted against the proposed regulations for e-bikes, with the committee feeling that it was in direct competition with the effects of the Climate Action Plan. On to the Recycling Committee, Everett thanked the hard work with those involved, discussing the success of pulling events off the ground and getting the word out. Everett went on to mention the organics collection at the transfer station and what they can do with the school system, along with priorities tying in with the Climate Action Plan and more. Budget analyst Jeanette White discussed the Budget Subcommittee, with dates sent out to them for planned meetings in January, a series of meetings that will be held in the second half of that month. The Advisory and Finance Committee will return back in January as they gear up for their Springtown meeting. This has been your Plymouth Government Access on the local scene.
Cara Bean, a cartoonist, art educator, and author of Here I Am Me, An Illustrated Guide to Mental Health, a 2025 favorite of the Children's Book Council, will be at the Duxbury Free Library on Thursday, January 22nd to lead a doodling comics workshop. Through fun, simple prompts, doodlers and drawers age 8 to 14 can join other tween comic artists in the Mary Room of the library for this fun, one-session class exploring the ins and outs of the comic-making process. This hour-long workshop starts at 3 p.m. and you can sign up through the library's website to reserve a spot.
The calendar may say 2026, but on Friday, January 23rd at the Spire Center, it will be all 1970s. Step back in time and embrace the warm vibes of 1971 with the confessional songwriting of Tapestry, the Carole King Songbook, a live tribute performance of one of the decade's and century's most legendary albums. Feel the earth move under your feet as Suzanne O'Davis and her band bring this enduring treasure trove of hit songs to life and dip into more music from Carole King's vast catalog of emotionally intimate gems from the 70s. Doors open at 7 p.m. and the music begins at 8. Showtime is not so far away, so visit the Spire Center website to get your tickets before it's too late, baby.
It's too late, baby, now it's too late, though we really did try to...
Famously, Helen Keller said, "Alone we can do so little, together we can do so much." And yes, the truth is, studying and other must-do tasks are always better with pals. Study Buddies happens every Tuesday at the Kingston Public Library and is time reserved in the teen room for tweens age 8 to 14 to gather and work on homework or projects with their peers. Snacks and tunes will be provided. It happens from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. and is a fun way for teens to find community and motivation to complete their assignments. No registration is required.
Playing in a drum circle taps into your carefree creativity and creates symbiotic energy flow that connects you with others in your percussion group through synchronized brainwaves and heartbeats. Ready for some of that rhythm? Join Ed Sorrentino, chair of South Shore Conservatory's percussion department, for a series of drum circles hosted by Pembroke Senior Services at the Community Center. Drums and hand percussion instruments will be provided for all to use during the session. Advance registration is required as space is limited to 20 people and the circles fill up quickly. The cost is just $10 per drummer.
The Northeast Collectors Fest is happening on Saturday, January 24th and Sunday, January 25th at the Wolves Den Sports Complex in Pembroke. Shop, sell, and trade collectibles with all kinds of vendors offering everything from Pokemon to Topps cards, memorabilia, comics, and more. There will also be companies offering grading services if you are interested in having your trading cards, comics, or collectibles assessed or authenticated. And what is a Collectors Fest without a raffle to win? More collectibles. There will be raffles too. Regular admission is just $8 for entry, and if you want early admission or VIP access, the cost is $15. Hours on Saturday are from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. and Sunday 9 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Next up is poet Sarah Jane Ferreira.
Hi everybody, my name is Sarah Jane. Thanks so much for having me tonight. I hail from New Bedford, where I am serving as the current Poet Laureate. title I hold with great pride. Thank you very much. I brought a selection of books tonight that are by my poetry group. So I belong to Anomaly Poetry. We publish 2 anthologies every year. We are currently open for submissions for our winter book, which is called Tidings, that is going to be published in December of this year. So if you're looking to share some work with some local poets, actually we are international. I shouldn't call us local poets. We are an international publication at this point in time. And so if you'd like to get in on the fun, please see me afterwards. I'll give you my email and I can share some work. All right, enough about me. I'm going to read you some pieces. Actually, as you were all announcing, I am going to be self-publishing a book in February. So yeah, look forward to that. I think some of these are going to end up in it, but it's still kind of, you know, I'm still killing all of my darlings or viciously protecting some of them. So this is a new one that I wrote a few months ago. It is called The Garden. The first time he asked for the cup to pass from him, I wonder if he saw into the unaltered future, a world still wild, lush, and green, and perhaps he saw us, feral children, still singing ancestral songs and dancing around fires, heathens and pagans who knew no other path and had never heard his name. The second time he pleaded, weeping, knowing the unmovable iron will of his father, I imagine he saw us as we are now, after centuries of death and destruction, blasphemous and prideful, worshiping the framed portraits of a blue-eyed, golden-haired idol who has been given his name. The third and final time, begging, repeating his mournful prayer, I imagine he saw himself alive, whole and unscarred, his home and an olive grove shining in the sun. I believe he saw his family, a wife and children, heard them calling for their Baba, loving and good. And I imagine he saw his mother, gray and wrinkled, cradling her grandchildren, blessing them, kissing their tiny feet, and softly, gratefully repeating their names. Okay, keep the religious trauma going for a little bit. This one is a poem that I continuously edit and add to and detract from and add to, and so a version of it will end up in my book, but I don't know what it's going to look like. So this is the current iteration that I am happy with. So here we go. This is ecclesiastical, and it is with assistance from Roger Robinson, who published a poem of a similar kind of vibe, and so I borrow some of his language. If I should speak of prayer, I am thinking of the night the world learned of Notre Dame burning, as we paused for hours watching ancient wood and stone turn black and crack in the heat. A man rushed into the blaze to save the crown of thorns, which may or may not have pierced the Savior's skin. What risk and what passion to save something beautiful, what trust in the divine, fervent words of praise and glory. What do I believe? If I should speak of communion, then I am speaking of the bakers who begin their work before I've even opened my eyes in the morning, to create beauty and nourishment, goodness that helps the poor wretch through the next task, the next challenge, the next, well, what can't be absolved with a little sweetness. Take this, a moment to savor, to rest, and to watch the world turn to color before you. And if I should speak of the good word, I am thinking of my poet friend Miklos, murdered by Nazis in November of 1944 and buried in a mass grave, nameless and abandoned. His wife brought his body home after the war to be buried under a more familiar moon. They found a small notebook containing his last 5 poems, still safely nestled in the pocket of his moldering coat, holy witness, scripture, written by a man at the edge of doom, poems of love, of longing, of terror, that were preserved through some higher power to be printed in books that sit on my shelf here on the cliff's edge in 2025. Poems that echo and reverberate like a gunshot. And again, if I should speak of prayer, I am thinking of my grandfather singing hymns during church services at his care home. As memory slips away, what came to the surface was joy and beauty and exultation. I see a blue jay nearly every time I think of him, not necessarily singing, but certainly rejoicing in his blueness, in his flight, in his freedom. What do I believe? Okay. God, sorry. Two more. Matthew, I think you and I need to be better friends because I think we've got a few poems here that we need to edit for each other. This one is titled An Aspirational Self-Portrait as a Man in a Plaid Suit at My Uncle's Funeral. I've forgotten the names of most of the children, though they wear my cousins' faces. My cousins now wear my aunts' and uncles' faces. Whose face do I own now? I thought my suit mousy, neutral in its browns and reds, but here, among the somber Catholic mourners, I am a preening bird. I kept our grandfather's hair cut close at the sides, but coiffed and set in a wave at the crown. My overcoat is black and stern-looking, and that counts for something. I maintain my composure until the lovely strings of Danny Boy pour from a teenage cousin's violin. She wears her mother's face so well, I swear we're back there at the beginning, before any of us knew heartbreak, before there was any parting among us. She has the same constellation of freckles across the bridge of her nose, and I guess I've kept mine too. I do not take communion. Instead, I make my way to the back of the church to await my uncle's casket. Okay. One more religious-themed poem, and then one just about death. So I'll leave you on a high note. How's that? This one was published actually. Oh, this is a good segue. Published in a collection by the Pour Me a Poem anthology, published by some intrepid poets out in Mansfield who host an open mic called Pour Me a Poem every second Thursday of the month, which is coming up this Thursday. Yep. We're all going to be.
We both read. And you.
Oh, yes, and I've been there. And actually, I'm going to be featuring in November, so I'll be there in November. But it's coming up this Thursday the 9th, so if you want to head over to Wayne Daniel Berard's lovely home in Mansfield, that's happening this Thursday. Actually, you can catch that one, or you can come down my way to New Bedford, where I'll be hosting my own on Thursday night at the Co-Creator Center. But shout out to the folks in Mansfield who started that community project that has really blossomed into something beautiful. So if you do have a chance to get out there, I highly recommend it. This is my poem, Roscommon, 1885. A freckled woman sits beside her fire in the central heartbeat within her steadfast walls. She tends to the flame by day, cooking and sewing and caring for small hands and hungry mouths. She banks the embers at night to steal a few hours of precious sleep. She keeps them alive through famine and unrest and outright war until they are grown and can drift across the sea, leaving her walls in the sweetest of shambles. She lights candles in her window, says her lengthy prayers to St. Bridget, that they'll find their way home eventually. Her children thrive and build homes and families of their own. They do not return. Some lie in the pallid earth of distant lands. Some visit, but will not call it home. They keep her traditions, the candles, the language, the food, but forget to pass them on. Raise their children across the sea with promises of more than their first home could keep. Another freckled woman sits beside her fire, a grateful wretch trying to reconnect. She lights the kindling, watches the brilliant dance of amber, gold, and indigo. She lights candles, recites exuberant prayers to the goddess Bridget. She doesn't understand why the scent of dark earth or mist rising from the snow makes her proud. A gentle reminder, those echoes, assurances of the skittishness of fate. And one more for you. This one was written after an exhibit of Victorian spirit photography. If you're not familiar, that was when folks would kind of do the smoke and mirrors to make loved ones appear in black and white photography, and the Victorians just went nuts for it. And there's a ton of it, but there was a beautiful exhibit at the Peabody Essex Museum in Salem last year, and I got a little obsessed with it. And so there's a couple of poems that came out of that experience, but this is my favorite. And it's called Any Daub. And it begins with a quote from Oliver Wendell Holmes. Untaught eyes will see a portrait of parent, spouse, or child in almost any daub. I hear it inflected with a sneer, an easy scam, a leaky faucet of riches, emptying the pockets of the mourning and the lost, who sit down in a puff of smoke and mirrors, hoping for revelation, for something concrete, assurances of everlasting love or life or something in between. Unmet desires, unfulfilled dreams, and all that love not given clouds the vision, distorts the mind's eye, and there it is, a tender face, a fondly remembered hand, the whisper, the hazy thought that they stand just behind you, just over your shoulder. I used to sneer as well, seeing gullible and naive fools, but oh, how love teaches us, how loss and grief make it all so clear. I would pay anyone and give anything to see the evidence that you move just beyond my sight or just out of earshot, to find your face in a cloud of the unknown, see your endearments scrawled in dust on the lens, for any fuzzy suggestion that you continue to love me when all else is gone. Thank you very much.
The tantalizing taste of lobster doesn't have to just be a summertime staple. Woods Seafood is back at the Plymouth Center for Active Living and is throwing a lobster roll bash on Monday, January 26th. Feast on a mouth-watering lobster roll, a steaming bowl of chowder and chips for only $22.99. The lobster roll bash starts at 11:30 a.m. with the doors opening at 11:15 for the crustacean crowd that would like to eat in with their friends at the center. If you prefer to take your meal to go, you may do that too. Space is limited for both options, so claw your way to the PCAL website soon to register.
Pembroke Senior Services hopes to make the subject of property tax exemptions less taxing. The assessor's office will be at Pembroke Senior Services on 2 dates, Monday, January 12th and February 9th, from 3 to 6 p.m. Save on Taxes, Meet the Assessors is an opportunity to book 15-minute appointments to learn what property tax exemptions may be available to you. To schedule yours, call 781-294-8220.
Piano Man meets Rocket Man in the Phalo Meeting Room at the Plymouth Public Library on Friday, January 30th, when pianist and vocalist Jay Daniels pays a lively tribute to two musical greats, Billy Joel and Elton John. Jay will perform classic hits from both legendary artists, adding his own jazz-infused flair to the songs. The performance will be enjoyable for music lovers of all ages. The show starts at 4 p.m. and it is free to register. Visit the library's website to reserve your seat.
Painting and percolation are on the menu in the Merry Room of the Duxbury Free Library on January 20th from 10 a.m. to noon. The library will provide art supplies, acrylic paint, and hot coffee and tea for this coffee and canvas unguided paint morning. Come for a burst of caffeine, companionship, and creative energy. You're welcome to bring the project you're working on and the materials you're working with. No registration is required. Just show up with your artistic soul and imagination.
On January 31st, the Duxbury Senior Center will be transformed into a swanky bingo and entertainment hall in the name of helping neighbors who need assistance with heating, electricity, and other essentials during the frigid winter months. All proceeds raised at this event will go towards helping fund the Duxbury Interfaith Council's fuel assistance and outreach programs. The 13th annual Black Tie Bingo event will feature bingo games, entertainment, prizes, and tasty bites and beverages from 6 to 10 p.m. The cost is $75 per person. Come dressed in your best. However, wearing an actual black tie is optional. Get tickets by going to the Senior Center's website or calling 781-934-5774, extension 5703.
Candlelight Concerts are a series of Sunday salons offering 4 unique musical experiences in Plymouth's most historic venues: Plymouth Center for the Arts, the Antiquarian Society's Hedge House, the Spire Center, and Pilgrim Hall Museum. Each venue is ornamented with the hypnotic and soft, warm glow of hundreds of flickering candles, creating an environment of intimacy that deepens the concert experience. Don't miss the first of these events at the Plymouth Center for the Arts on January 25th at 4 p.m., when you'll warm to string theory. Glass artists draw on the music of the Beatles, Queen, Coldplay, and Fleetwood Mac, and reweave these favorites into innovative, unforgettable arrangements. Visit artsplymouth.org to get your tickets.
Tidmarsh Wildlife Sanctuary boasts a rich and intriguing history in Plymouth and features a remarkable blend of habitats, open landscapes, and wildlife. On Thursday, January 22nd at 5:30 p.m., join Mass Audubon educator Kim Snyder in the Manomet Room at Plymouth Public Library to explore why this property is so important and learn about the transformation that shaped it into the vibrant community space it is today. This program will be an hour long, and you can register through the Mass Audubon website to reserve your spot.
Join us for Winter Stillness at the Gallery at the Local Scene. 11 local artists. One seasonally inspired question: what does winter mean to you? Curated by Theodore Earthworms, this evocative exhibition is open now through March 6th, but you won't want to miss the opening reception on Friday, January 16th from 5 to 7 p.m. Highlights include live music by genre-bending indie pop band Dogtail Corners and a live recording of the Open Here podcast with Tip Phillips. Be our guest and share your thoughts about the exhibition and your relationship to the visual arts. There will also be light bites, drinks, and the reason for the season: 5 walls of original art. Admission is free. Scan the QR code to let us know you're coming. An RSVP is requested, but not required. We can't wait to see you there. And that, my friends, wraps this episode of The Local Scene this week. Thank you for watching.
If you live or work in Plymouth, Pembroke, Kingston, or Duxbury and would like to have your own show or podcast, you should. Email community@thelocalscene.media to find out about our free production services and training from community members.
And if you have a story or event you'd like people to know about, email us at story@thelocalscene.media.
And as always, we thank our patron Tiny & Sons for supporting our mission of community and action through media.
The Local Scene this week will be back next week with more of what's good and good to know in our area. Until then, we'll see you on The Local Scene. Hello, friend. If you enjoyed this video, please think about scanning the QR code and making a contribution to The Local Scene. Every dollar is appreciated, and your support helps keep community media alive and our resources free to the community. We'll see you on the local scene.